Hi guys, and welcome to your daily tarot reading for Friday the 8th of January 2021. Thanks for joining me. I'm going to use the Morgan Greer deck for today's reading. Let's see what the cards have to say about Friday and what energy is coming up for you. Let's have a look. First card. I've got the Ten of Swords. Okay. The Two of Swords. And the Sun. Okay, interesting. So the Ten of Swords is a card that shows you at a crossroads. We've got this Roman symbol for the number 10, which looks like a crossroads. And you're being asked to look again, to make a choice for the future, to see where you are, and to look at how you're going to move on from that position. So the Ten of Swords in itself is a negative card. You can see someone lying face down in a pool of blood there out in the snow. 10 swords are stuck in the back, and it's really kind of rock bottom. This person isn't moving anywhere. Things have become too negative, and we're done. So each sword represents a thought, an idea, a faulty narrative that's been accepted, a perception of the world. And one sword is bad enough. It can really be a burden and it can make you feel weighed down and unhappy. But 10 are worse. So let's say this sword is the faulty belief that no one likes me and no one ever will. This is, oh, what am I going to do about those business people? I still have this outstanding paperwork nightmare ahead of me. This is a friend of mine who cut me off and I don't feel loved and positive anymore. What am I going to do in future with money? And it's just one negative thing after the other. It's kind of like 3 a.m. where you wake up in a cold sweat and you think, oh my God, how am I going to get anything done? It's just overwhelming. It's a nightmare. It's just one person and everything just seems overwhelming. So the Ten of Swords is a card that acknowledges that sometimes things can feel like they've got on top of you. It can be anxiety, it can be depression, it can be an investment in a belief that is really incorrect, especially about yourself. Because swords are the way you think and the way you articulate and the way you express yourself and see the world. And these swords aren't attacking someone else, they're attacking the person doing the thinking. So it's intellectual energy that has gone the wrong way and has attacked the person who's originated the thinking rather than being useful and the blades being used to make decisions or to cut negative cords. It just got a bit much. So with the Ten of Swords, it's important to realize that there is a way out. It is a transition card. You're not going to be in this place all the time. And to actually just ask yourself what you can do. What is it that you can do? And some days, you know, if you suffer with a mental illness or, a mental illness like depression, for instance, then some days it's just enough to get through the day. And if you're setting yourself the goal, I'm going to make myself a cup of tea today, and that's one of the things that you feel overwhelmed by, then that's not silly at all. It's really important that you then stay in bed, you make the cup of tea, you celebrate that before going on to the next 9 issues that you need to take care of, and that you actually spend a little bit of time being in the moment and celebrating your own achievements. And it's through that that the other ones become lighter, they become looser, they become more easy to remove. It's important to not believe everything you think. Just because you think that the thing with the tax people is going to be a nightmare doesn't mean it is going to be a nightmare. It might be unpleasant. It might have a good outcome. You don't know. Then the decision by the school not to accept you into their program may feel devastating now, but it may be a good thing because they didn't take you. You find something that's actually more suitable in a month and you start studying that and you don't look behind ever and you're thrilled and you're happy. So the important thing with this Ten of Swords is, first of all, to acknowledge how you're feeling. If you're not feeling 100%, if you're feeling a little bit under the weather, if you feel like you've got way too much hanging over you and you can't do it, then it's positive self-talk. I am good enough, even if I didn't get anything done today. The little things that I do matter, and I've achieved the one thing that I've set out to achieve. I love myself unconditionally. This is one day, it's not the rest of my life. So stop judging yourself with all the things that haven't even happened yet on this day. The card is saying that this isn't a permanent situation, even though it feels permanent. You're not always going to feel overwhelmed. Your own thoughts aren't always going to turn on you and make things seem more negative. So have the willingness to kind of realize that things may not be 100% ideal at the moment, but that certainly doesn't mean that they're going to stay that way. So by having this willingness to look at things differently or to deal with what you've got in the best way you can, whether you remove 6 of these swords in one go or whether you're able to take out one, the important thing is to be willing to do that. Then we've got the 2 of swords, and you can see a woman who's kind of, her posture looks kind of defensive. She's holding these 2 swords to protect herself, and it feels like a gesture of stay away from me. I don't want to engage. I need to protect myself. I feel frightened and anxious. And this kind of energy, unfortunately, brings in more things which are going to feel threatening and unpleasant. She is using these swords not as weapons, but as shields. So she's trying to shield herself with something that isn't designed to shield her, and it's going to let her down and make her feel worse. She's wearing a blindfold, so she can't see what's going on, so everything seems worse. It's kind of like here, the 3 in the morning perspective. If you're blindfolded and you hear a little footstep in front of you, if you could see, and you could see it was your little daughter, then you'd be delighted and say hooray. But if you're blindfolded and standing there like this, waiting for someone to kind of attack you, and you hear a branch kind of crack or some sort of a footstep on the pebble, then it's immediately going to be construed as a threat, and it's going to seem dangerous. So that's a good card after this one, because a lot of the things that are bothering you and that are getting on top of you are really nothing. They're not as serious as you think. So it may be a huge thing whether the apartment gets rented out or not, but in the grand scheme of things, a few days or even a few weeks here or there aren't going to matter that much. And you're looking at everything from this perspective that makes it seem much more important than it really is. Maybe you're struggling with the restrictions that are in place at the moment and the lack of freedom you've got. You're seeing that from inside of your house, and it seems like it's always going to be like this, and you're never going to be, doing cartwheels in the field again. You will do cartwheels in the field, okay? Finally, we've got the moon, and the moon in the tarot often represents fear and anxiety, but it also represents your intuition, your gut, your psychic ability, your ability to really deal with things intuitively through your feelings, rather than thinking everything through and kind of flogging a dead horse by thinking over things you've already thought of about 20 times, and you still haven't come to a resolution. So she's got the moon there, she's got the whole ocean behind her. So she really has the access to all the answers that she's ever going to need. She's just really reluctant and unwilling to use her intuitive sense. And today there's the push to use that kind of unseen sixth sense, because it has all the answers that you need. It also has the calm and contentment that you need to actually get to work to resolve these things and to remove them. Because if you're really panicked about going to the dentist, okay, and every step closer to the dentist's office is filling you with fear, and then you end up having a panic attack 5 meters outside the dentist, you can't attend because you've got yourself in such a state that something that's fearful to you has become worse and worse and worse and has compounded itself, that you can't even get in the door because you're so frightened. Same thing with anything else in your life. If you have to, I don't know, send a card to your little sister today, but you've just got major anxiety about it because the relationship's been rough and difficult, then by continuing to think about that and not seeing it for what it is and just being up in your own head and letting fear and kind of guide you and all the negative memories you've got. Well, remember that last family party we had that huge argument? You can't shield yourself with that. And if you kind of go on this downward spiral of scaring yourself half to death over something like that, you're going to be so panicked that you can't even send the card. So the water here allows you to tap into this place of contentedness and peace and a knowing that everything's going to be okay. And that's really important because it's something you can feel. You don't have to see it. You don't have to figure it out. You don't have to understand it. You just tap into it and sense it. So just go into yourself and close your eyes and just imagine your solar plexus chakra and how strong that is, and your chakra system working same way it's always worked, and the spiritual energy that's moving through you. It just allows you to realize that you're okay. You're okay in this moment, and that you don't need to defend yourself. You're able to pick up these swords, and you're able to, if anything, extend the arm by feeling safe and just kind of sweep around, and you're able to get a lot of these swords out of the back just by whooshing your sword over one time. So don't believe everything you think. Realize that your perspective is based on what you're being told and what you're seeing. You're not thinking like someone who's sitting in June 2021. You're sitting there thinking about your life the way it is now. And it's important to feel your way through rather than try and understand everything and then to take actions based on that limited understanding, because that's going to create more fear. So who are all these people who stuck their swords into my back? I'm going to grab one, get up, and I'm going to retaliate. Totally different, totally incorrect perspective, because it's you who put the swords in your own back. So there's no one to attack or to retaliate against. So by being willing to let your feelings guide you through this, we've got the sun. Oh, and maybe that's why I just mentioned the solar plexus, because the sun is the solar plexus of our solar system. The sun is the source of all energy, and your solar plexus is like this mini galaxy inside of you, and it's your power. And by listening to your emotions and your intuitive abilities, you really rediscover that power. And then these swords become really meaningless and like toothpicks. You can just blow them out of the way. It's all a matter of perspective. When you see things effectively and clearly, you know you can just roll over and get rid of all this stuff. Also, we've got the opportunity for a new relationship here, for you to have something beautiful and empowering come into your life, someone who makes you really happy, or a new hobby, or an activity that you enjoy doing, or a new creative outlet, a new way of meditating, exercise, something on TV to watch, work that empowers you and makes you feel invigorated. Excuse me, it's something that comes into your life and makes you feel young and youthful and alive and happy. And it's not just about you. So it's not like a little horse with a baby on the back, which is what the usual sun card is. It's two people looking at each other and discovering each other. So it's receiving an ally, whether that's an actual person or that's your own strength returning. You have this face-off, this meeting of souls, where you feel you're not alone anymore, you feel supported, and you have the power to really resolve the things that have been bothering you. So the day may start off feeling a little bit tough by not going into certainty and saying, I know everything and I'm going to deal with everything, but just realizing that some things may feel overwhelming. Let me see what my gut says about this. How can I deal with this? You get your strength back. You're able to deal with the things that are problematic in a really easy way. And you're no longer defensive, and you can see things clearly. So it's about using your sixth sense instead of relying on the way you usually do things. So doing things differently for a renewed sense of happiness and a renewed sense of personal ability and the freedom to choose the way you are going to live your life. 19 and 2 is 21. And 10 is 31, 3 and 1 is 4, and that's security and structure. So today you learn how to overcome situations which seem impossible. So because you're able to listen to your intuition today and remove all these swords, you'll remember that you can do that at any point in the future, as and when you need. So you learn a new skill, and it really allows this new part of you to emerge that hasn't been there before. So sometimes it's only when we get to the really tough nitty-gritty side of things that we realize how strong we actually are, and we realize how many internal resources we've got. And some of these resources come to the surface today, ready for you to use. So have a wonderful Friday. If you'd like a personal reading with me, please get in touch via my website, gregoryscott.com. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, hit subscribe, and share the video online. Have an amazing day, and I'll speak to you tomorrow.